Okay, so we're going to start assembling the left hand side. I've assembled the right hand side, just locked together. There's no glue. It was just to check all the bits fit and try and get an order of assembly, really, so you don't end up with certain bits that you can't get in after you've glued other bits together, things like that, and try and work out a sequence that helped to build it without any twists, or making sure it was all nice and square as I did it. The original idea was to build it in the carbon fibre mould, or the lower skin, the mould for the lower skin with the carbon fibre still in it. And that's still something I might do, but as a starting point, I think these wing to body frames, they also have these ply, 6mm ply wing root frames on, as I've called them, which is just 5 parts that lock all these main frames together. That was the idea of them. Give you a kind of a point to start from, to try and help get a square base really before moving on to the rest of it. So the plan is to glue each of these to the wing fuselage frames at 90 degrees. So we're going to glue those, we're going to leave them to dry, and then the plan is then that we can start gluing each section together, or each of the sections together, and then in theory we should have each of the frames square to each other. That's the theory anyway. And once we've got that together, we can probably start adding the ribs in, possibly rib 1, but we need to do it in such a way that we don't end up with bits that we can't get in afterwards. I don't know if you can see on this one, I've got the main, let's move that out of the way, I've got the main undercarriage mounting plate, and that has to slide in outboard to inboard, and that has to go in before this, this undercarriage arch, as I've called it, this bit here. But yeah, I mean, it's just trying to get a sequence, an easy sequence to build it. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm going to use superphatic glue. I've normally laser cut parts that lock together nice and tightly. I'd normally just assemble it and run some thin super glue in. But I have heard that thin super glue doesn't seem to bond as well to laser cut parts because of the charred edges. So I've done some experimenting with the superphatic glue and also some thin cyano. Both seem to bond pretty well, to be honest. I've ordered some specific laser adhesive from Deluxe Materials, but that's going to arrive tomorrow. So in the meantime, I'm just going to use the superphatic glue to glue these at 90 degrees to the frames. So we're going to get that done, let that dry, and then we can go from there. So it doesn't seem to soak in as well as it would to a normal cut edge. So I'm just going to make sure we've got coverage on each of the bits, possibly even stick some on the frame as well. Just make sure we've got plenty of glue on there. I mean, the way it all locks together, I don't think it's really that essential, to be honest, that we've got, you know, a really big fillet of glue, because the main strength is coming from the parts locking together. Just get tissue. issue. I just wipe the excess off. There we go. Might just get a clamp, just hold it and then check it's square. I just got one of those springy clamps in. Just get this, check it's square. It's not quite. I think that might have been because that clamp was off though. So there we go. It's holding itself pretty much spot on. So we'll do that with each of the others, and then yeah, we'll let them to dry. So I've been thinking about the best way of assembling this, and what I've come to the conclusion of is each frame is designed to lock together with two, call them dog bones. Just trying to find one. There we go. J1 for joint 1. So that locks together. That simply pushes in there and into the frame on the other half. Locks two sections together. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting the right hand frames, joining them together with the wing root frames in as well. So basically I've got the mirrored version of this, but it was one piece. Doing that with each of them, then I can put them back to back, glue them together, and then what I'll probably do is, none of this is glued together. The right hand side is just all push fit at the moment. What I'll probably do, this main battery tray in the middle, once I've glued them together back to back like that, I can glue this frame in, this battery tray in, and that should hold everything together as nice and straight with no twists in it. I hope, but we shall see. So yeah, I'm going to take this apart, take the frames out, our right hand frames out, and do the same, exactly the same as I've done on this half, and then glue them together. Right, so we're going to carry on, get these frames assembled, carry on with the super alphatic glue. Right, so those bits are dry. We're going to carry on with the assembly. What I have done off camera is just ease out some of these joints, because although they did fit and they were nice and tight, I wanted to make sure that they did sit fully home without a lot of effort pushing them together, and also it does allow for glue to get into the joint. So we're all set, we're ready to start the next bit of the assembly. Plan is, like I said yesterday, stack them all on top of each other. I've got some clamps ready just to hold the bits together, just to make sure there's no distortion or leaning as it's sitting vertically while the glue dries. So let's do it. I did experiment with the PVA, the Superfatic and the super glue, and to be honest there wasn't a huge difference between the three, so I'm just going to go with the PVA. The laser glue that I ordered isn't due to arrive till tomorrow, so I'm going to carry on with the PVA for now, until we get to try the laser glue. I mean, there's going to be plenty of other bits to assemble, so. Okay, so before I glue the battery tray in, I'm just going to glue F1011 in, which just sits in those two little slots there. Just get a couple of clamps to hold these wing root frames in to it whilst it dries. Then we get the battery tray in, which locates on 4 of these frames, and also F10 will sit in the front there, but it's also held in with stringers running the full length. So yeah, we'll get F11 in, then we can get the battery tray in. Right, so that's all dried. It's feeling really, really strong now. Strong and pretty light as well. Really rigid. Really rigid. So I think next step, I've got ribs 1 and 2 to go in. So they go in there, and then I can get the undercarriage retract mounts in, and also the motor mounts. So I'll get those in. So we've run into a little snag, and that is whilst checking these fans fit, and well, they do still fit, the mounting lugs for them I assume would be slightly off centre, so one face would be in line with the centre line of the fan, but they're actually not. This lug, without measuring it or measuring it accurately, is about 2.5 mm thick, but it's bang in the middle of the fan, which means that my mounting rails for the fans should have also been offset by half of the thickness of this, which throws it off a little bit. So I'm going to have to come up with a solution to that, which I haven't thought of yet. And also, this outer fan does go in, but not with the outboard mount for the inboard fan. Once that's in, it's stuck. I can't get it out. Or in, if the rail's in. So I need to think of a solution. And at the moment, I haven't got one. I've actually got some help in the workshop today. Okay, so I said we'd find a solution, and I think we have. So what I've done is, rather than laser cutting, I needed to recess part of the bearers for the motor mounts or the fan mounts, because like I said earlier, the actual mounting lugs, they sit bang in the middle rather than one side of the, say, the lower part. Just trying to get a good view of it there. I mean, if they were thicker, it'd be easier to see, but if you could think the mounting lugs there, if they were, say, 5 mm thick, one side of those mounting points would be perfectly in line with the center line, but they're not. They're about 2.5 mm thick, and the center line of the mounting lugs is in line with the center line of the fan. So I should have offset the mounting lugs by half the thickness of that to ensure the fan stays in the center line of all the ducting. But anyway, I've recessed this now, and I needed to change them anyway because they didn't fit. So yeah, so I'll put them in place and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's a little bit awkward to show you with one hand. So I've taped the end of that bearer there to the top of that frame just to show you. So what I've done is I've chamfered that at an angle. That was always supposed to be like that. Same with this one, just there, gives us a little bit more clearance. I've cut the front of this back, so I just have to plug this hole in this frame now. And it just means that we've got just the clearance we need now to squeeze this down there. So the outboard fans have to go in first and be screwed down, but also it gives us a little bit of room to slide it forward, like I said, because I wanted it to kiss up to the intake duct. Let me grab the other fan, and then once that one's in, this one can then tuck in, swap that behind it, like so, like that. and then obviously once once they've slid forward, they will be staggered, but it gives me the play I need for them to kiss up to the intake ducts. And then, if you can see that now, that perfectly lines up with the intake, which it wasn't quite doing before because of that offset that I've now notched out the bearers. So yeah, had a use for the LCNC router that I've had for a long time. Still got a lot of uses. It's nice to try the laser, but both have their uses. So yeah, problem solved. Okay, so here we are again. I didn't show the gluing of the motor bearers in, but both sides are cut, chamfered edges on certain bits like this bit here. I haven't done the because of that bearer there, he's just supported by the top of that frame. I mean, it'd probably be strong enough, but belt and braces, I'm probably just going to drill a hole and epoxy a cocktail stick in there just to give it a bit more support. Will it need it? Probably not, but I do like to over engineer most things. So, but anyway, there we go. So to show you them fitting. So the idea is you'll tuck the motor back, or the fan. What am I doing? Just trying to do it around the right way. That's why it doesn't fit. Right, and you can see they just drop in now. Still snug, but it clears. It slides forward and aft like I wanted it to. And the import one, same thing, just like that. That can then slide forward and aft, and you can even get the outboard one out with the inboard one in, which is good. So it's actually slightly better than I was hoping. Although no, that's not true, because you can't get to the inboard mounting hole, which is buried down there somewhere. So you need the inboard fan out to get to that. But never mind, that's fine. It's good enough. They all fit. The alignment's right, so good. Down the other side as well. So now we can get on with the ribs and some of the other bits. So yeah, let's get on. Here's the one for the other side. The cutout wasn't this big for the initial retracts I was going to use, but I changed my mind because I think I was going to use Electron ER30s, but the max weight it states for those is 8 kilograms, and I'm not convinced we're going to be within that 8 kilograms. So I changed it for the ER40s, but it meant the cutout and the width of the cutout had to be increased. So it's left this bit a little bit weak. I mean, once it's in and glued, it'll be fine, but it's just while you're messing about with it. The other one for this right hand side, I've broken probably 2 or 3 times, which is a bit irritating. So annoyingly I had to recut a couple of bits, the rib 4 and rib 3, because the size seemed slightly out for some reason, but anyway I had to get the laser cutter back out and recut those bits, so I've done that. I also changed this F6, the frame 6 top. Initially it was just, I hadn't planned how I was going to make it removable. Can you see that? I just had these blanks, which was basically the cutout section, but whilst I was changing something else now, I can't think what I was doing, but I designed these two end bits with holes in, the idea being that, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. It pushes in, so once the motors are in, that will then push in, and then the holes I'll drill through the other bits of the frame, and I'll just stick an M3 or maybe an M4 bolt through, just to keep it in place and add the strength that was lost from making that section removable. So yeah, that's worked out all right.